Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you, all of you, for coming. Honestly, this is so exciting for me to see because we've done about a dozen of these seminars, and this is one of the best attended, and so I just really applaud you for coming to this and spending most of your day here and learning a lot. And I also want to give a round of applause to Rob because he has put a lot of time into this seminar. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Source. You've probably been hearing the name throughout the day, and you might not know what we do. So Source is a nonprofit that is in South Minneapolis. It's about a mile from here, and we are an organization that has been around since 1987. And so you might be thinking, oh, anti-trafficking hasn't been a term for that long. Well, we started off not doing anti-trafficking, but we were starting doing work with the marginalized and with homeless youth. And we have a mission statement to really reach out to people and to help them make a break from the past and build foundations for the future. And so to really bring hope into people's situations. And Source really has a mission to reach people where they're at and to be with them in their story and not necessarily say, like, you need to get out of it right now and you need to change right now, but we want to be with people where they're at and get into the pit with them and really show them the love of Christ. And so we are, hold on, this is going and I don't know why. There we go. And so you can see our mission statement there. So we started in 1987, and then in 1995, Peter and Jessica Wooler took over Source, and they're the current directors. And Peter and Jessica, if you go to Hope, you've probably seen Peter in a video, or maybe have met Jessica at different events, and they are people who really can connect with the marginalized. And so that's kind of how the organization has just become, where it's really reaching people and loving them where they're at. And so we use a lot of different things to connect with people, and it's through the arts and through housing and reaching people with the physical needs that they have and helping with that, but then also with their emotional needs and spiritual needs and a lot of different things, because we're all human and we have a lot of needs. And so we don't want to just fix one or help one part of that, but we really want to reach an entire person. And so Source uses urban outreach and anti-trafficking. And so I'll explain a little bit about what those things are and then really get into the anti-trafficking aspect of what we do. So with urban outreach, let me just quickly go over this so you kind of have a basis of where we're coming from. We do homeless and neighborhood outreach. So we are in the Whittier neighborhood. I don't know if any of you know where that is, but it's just a little south of here. And it's a neighborhood that is right next to the Phillips neighborhood, and that's kind of known for being the most diverse neighborhood in the country with the most languages spoken. So we're kind of right next to that. We have MCAD and the Minneapolis Institute of Art in our neighborhood. So it's a very artsy neighborhood. And then there are homeless shelters within a few blocks of us. So kind of that combination of those three things creates this really unique and I think beautiful culture. And there's a lot of people there who really need to know Jesus and need help with different things. And so the outreach that we do is we have a community center. It's called the Follow Urban Arts Center, and we use that kind of as our home base to reach out to people, and it's a place where we can do art events and we have a gallery, so there's a lot of art openings that people can come to. We have a concert venue. We have a food shelf where people from our neighborhood or people, I don't even know how they hear about it, that they come to us and really helping them with their physical needs. And then we also do housing. And so the housing aspect started when Peter and Jessica took over, and they did that because they were coming in contact with these homeless people and homeless youth and people coming out of recovery programs, and realized a Bible study once a week is not going to help somebody fully for what they're seeking and what they need. And so that's why they started doing transitional housing. And the transitional housing that we have is, we have one house specifically for men, and they've been doing that for 20 years. And so that's kind of given us a foundation and a lot of experience with housing. And so that kind of then plays into what we do with anti-trafficking that I'll share about in a second here. So we have a couple different houses in Whittier, and then about 5 years ago, Peter and Jessica started a church. So there's a lot going on at Source. It takes a couple months usually for people to really understand all that we do. And so if you have questions, just so you know, we'll be around afterwards, and we're always available by email as well, and invite people to just keep dialoguing because there's so much going on. So that kind of gives a picture of the urban outreach. And so as Source was doing this housing for the last 20 years, Peter and Jessica just kept coming in contact with women involved with prostitution and youth who were doing survival sex, and realized there's a need there for a specific house for these women. And so that's why they started the Annex Network, and that is our specific anti-trafficking branch. And what they decided was, well, we don't need to be a huge shelter. That's not what we have experience in. We have experience in the transitional housing. And so that's kind of one of our main things that we're doing. And you can see on the slide just what our focus is. And so I'm just gonna read this. Serving sex trafficking victims through a network of congregations and social service organizations with an effective and holistic approach that includes healing, spiritual formation, practical life skills, and recovery resources. So as they decided to start the house, the annex, they realized, oh, the church needs to be part of this. And so we believe that the church, and what everyone's kind of been talking about, is they have a role in this. And you, who are all sitting here, have a role in it. And we want to partner with the local church to provide housing for the women. And so the anti-trafficking part of Source, we do a few different things that I'll walk through. And the first is the network. So we want to see a network of houses. We have one right now that is here in Minneapolis, and we want to see more houses open. And we want to see that throughout the Midwest, and we want to have houses in the country and in the suburbs and in the city to be able to give options to women. Because there's going to be some women who being in the city is not a good thing for her. And going out into the country and having that space would be a really healing thing. But then there's other women who, being on the country or being on more of a farm type situation, she would not be able to handle that and would want to leave right away. So we want to be able to have options. So that's kind of our vision, is to see multiple homes throughout the Midwest and throughout the country that partner with the local church. So another thing that we do is what you're all at, the awareness, and provide education. And we do that in a couple different ways. So seminars, we do these all over the Midwest, and we've done one in California, one in Florida. And it's really to bring an awareness of what is going on. And if you go to a different church or know of another church that might be interested in hosting one of these seminars, talk to us, because we would love to build that partnership up and host more of these, because honestly, we should fill the Twin Stadium 17 times with people to learn about what's going on as well. So that's one way. We do training and testimony nights. So there's people who have talked to me at the booth about how can I get involved. Come to one of these that we do on the first Tuesday of the month, and come learn about us. Come meet people who are involved and see, is this a good fit for you as a volunteer? And those are really to bring just more of a deeper, I guess, education into working with people who have been exploited. We also have an art exhibit that we are actually in the process of kind of revamping and renovating, I guess. And so if you are an artist, we would love to have you be part of that, because that's just another way that Source has been doing work for many years, is through art. So that's one part of it. And then lastly, awareness events. And so we have a couple different things that you'll get more information about in a little bit as well. The next thing that we do, so we do this awareness, we bring education to the general public, but then we also want to be coming in contact specifically with women who are being exploited. And so we are in the process, actually, this season, this next month or so, we are going to be starting outreach. And that is to really connect with women. So I know John Choi talked about Backpages. And so that's one website that women are being exploited. And we are going to be using the internet to connect with women. And we're doing that not to get them to come to our house necessarily and say, oh, you need to get out of what you're doing right now. It's more to say, hey, we see you, and we want you to know that you're loved and that Jesus loves you. And the outreach aspect is this way of doing outreach, I should say, is a new concept for us and for a lot of organizations. And so we've, for the last year, been praying once a week for it and doing training with Grant Snyder and some other people. And so this is something that we would love for you to pray for, because honestly, going into just starting it's a scary thing, but it's needed. And so we're also excited to be able to start it. And we're doing it this way because a lot of people ask, oh, why don't you just go do street outreach? And that's happening. Women are on the streets, and you can, if you know the signs of it, you can probably point them out. But with the internet, it's so hidden. And women can be in a hotel room, and no one could know they're in there, and they're putting an ad up, or their pimp is putting one up for them. And so that's why we have decided as an organization to start using the internet to really come in contact with them. So that's one way. If you are interested in being involved, we have this outreach team, and we invite men to be part of that just through prayer and to come alongside of us in that way. And then women are the ones obviously connecting with the people we're reaching out to. And then lastly, I talked a little bit about this, the transitional housing. And so we currently have one in South Minneapolis here, and it's for women who can live in a sober housing. They can cut all ties with the sex industry and live in a community. And so that's what we ask the residents to do, and it's not for every woman. We know we're not a good fit for everyone, which is okay. And they stay for about 6 to 18 months, and this is not the first step usually for a woman who's coming out of prostitution. It's usually after they've gone to a recovery program, because oftentimes there's an addiction that comes with it. Not always, but sometimes. And so we have connections with different programs if they do have an addiction. And then they can come to our program, and we have it set up where women have an individual plan for them to really succeed. And that's our hope, at least. And so we have a case manager that meets with the women twice a week, and they set up this plan where they're doing life skill programming. They are going to Bible study. They are doing things like yoga and art classes, or they are learning how to budget or how to parent. And some of those things we do right on site, but then we also are able to outsource some of that because Minneapolis has a lot of nonprofits, and we don't need to have a GED tutor on site because there's like 5 of them within a couple miles. And so things like that we are able to outsource, which is really a good thing for us as a nonprofit to network and partner with other organizations who are really skilled in what they're doing. And so the women have these different things that they're part of, and they're also doing it though with a community of support. And so our house is set up different from a lot of programs where we have volunteers living in an apartment right next to the women. And so this house, the current one that we have is broken up into 3 apartments, and 2 of those are for residential volunteers. And these are women who are typically in their 20s and 30s that are living there, they have a job or going to school, and they're there to do life with their girls. And I know hope is a big aspect of his community. You always say it's the middle name. And so we believe that too with the annex, is community has to happen. And so that's why we have these residential volunteers living there to provide support and to kind of show them this is what a life looks like when you have a job or you're taking college classes or getting your high school diploma. And they're cheerleaders and really just their sisters and friends. And so it's a really neat setup that we have compared to some other different housing that we know of. And so that's the house. If you are interested in being a residential volunteer, we would love to talk with you because we currently are actually looking for a couple new women to move into the house. And so downstairs at our table, we have an information sheet about the description of the role. And I was a residential volunteer for a year when I first came on staff. And it's an amazing experience. It's a hard experience, but it's something where if you are interested in anti-trafficking, it's the best way that I can say, for women at least, that you can get involved, because you are there just doing life with the girls, and you maybe don't hear their stories because they don't have to share them. That's not one of their requirements, but you get to be there as they learn how to be a parent, and as they learn how to cook healthy meals, and they get to learn about Jesus, and you get to do devotions with them. And so it's a really good experience. So I would just encourage you, if you or somebody you might know is interested in that, to come talk to us. I'm gonna go back. So, maybe I can't go back, that's okay. So that's Source and the Annex, and I'm gonna come back after Rob talks with Maria on stage a little bit, and I'm gonna share just about some other ways that people can get involved, because you've probably been given enough information, and so we want you to be part of what we're doing. We can't do this alone, and we truly know that each one of you has, whether it's a skill or a resource to be part of anti-trafficking. So maybe you're not gonna live in the house, maybe you don't qualify for that because you have a family or whatever it is, or maybe you can't come on staff, but you all have something that you can do to really be part of the anti-trafficking movement that is taking place. And so we just ask you to really pray about that and to think through what does it look like for you. So right now we're going to show a video, and this video is a testimony of a woman who has gone through our program, and she is a graduate, and she is somebody who really needed community. She graduated from a recovery program and just saw a need for herself to have community and support, and so that's why she decided to move in. And so you'll hear a piece of her story, and then after that, Rob and Maria, who is the anti-trafficking director at Source, are gonna come up here, and you'll hear a little more just about the house and Maria's work with that. So thank you everyone for being here.
I grew up in Chicago. I'm not gonna say there was a whole lot of poverty at that time, but it ended up being that way. You know, always something going on in the family. You know, there was a lot of chaos and dysfunction in the family, and so it started with my family. It's kind of like I was born into the lifestyle because ultimately, something bad happened, and it led my mother down that path, and so I learned that way. That's the way I learned. I was 16 the first time. It looked normal. It wasn't like anything, I just knew what to do. I didn't need to be taught it or anything. For some reason, I've always known I would get out. I've known that, it's been, this voice inside of me saying that one day I'm going to be out and, this is going to be part of my past. I needed housing. I needed a place to stay that was going to be safe, and I needed people that could relate to this particular lifestyle. And so I don't know, it just fell into my hands. I didn't know that the annex even existed.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time that we can all just get together.
Having the community definitely is up there on, this is one of the reasons why I'm still here and out of the lifestyle. If I went into treatment and got sober, got out of the lifestyle, stopped, and go right back home or around them, it was just the same thing. So being around supportive people, and it's just not 30 days or 60 days, it's just like living among them. Any questions I need answered, I can just, text one of the staff members here and they can answer that question for me. If I need a ride to get to an appointment, to get to therapy, someone's there to take me there. I'm just encouraged all the time by just watching them do what they do. And so being here is like being in a community of people that are doing the right things. They're honoring God by being honest. God is definitely in the center of all of this. I'm very active in my church. Morning, noon, or night, I can call either one of my pastors and just, and I'm always texting, like, pray for me, because sometimes I'm struggling. I'm just like, and when I say pray for me, then they know to just start praying for me. I was just, on my way to school, and I ran into one of the ladies on the corner, and she didn't come to the annex. She doesn't have, the support that I have. And then when I seen her, I just, I counted my blessings right then and there, and I said, thank God for the annex, because, that could be me. That could have been me.
What we're going to do now is just a quick little interview time. I'll invite Maria to come up here. You saw a little cameo of her on that video there. She is the director of their annex program. Come on over. You don't have to hide in the shadows anymore. You can have this one here. Ladies first. And just going to take a little bit of time just to do a little Q&A with her. I'm going to ask a couple questions, and then we'll open up to you guys. And she invites the curveballs, so throw the hard ones. I'm just kidding.
Some
That's
people
a joke.
know not
That's
to
a
ask.
joke. That's a joke. So first of all, tell us what makes the annex different than other treatment programs?
One of the main things that I think makes the annex very different is the partnership with the local church. When the women move into our program, I do an intake with them and explain to them that we are faith-based, and going to church is very much part of our program. And for some of them, that's difficult. Like, really, do I need to go to church? And I don't want to go to church. Or they're like, they're a little nervous about that. But I really believe in the partnership with the church, that the church is an essential part of their healing journey, and that new community that welcomes them in. Because that's what I see is needed very much, that new community that says, you belong here now. And I see that with the annex, the partnership with the church, yeah.
And we've heard a little bit about recovery resources. Jillian hinted at it there. Could you explain a little bit more to everybody what those are?
Sure. And like what Kathy was sharing in the video too, she was talking about community a lot, and she is a person that when she came to us, she had gone through a recovery program and had lived on her own for a while, but she realized how difficult that was. She needed that community to support her in those new choices, in those choices of staying sober, moving forward in her life, and the church does offer that. She needed those resources with finding a job, having that new sense of belonging. I feel like I keep saying that, but that is very, very important. But it's those new resources that she needed to make those healthy choices. Does that explain it?
That's great.
Okay.
Yep. And so one of the taglines that you guys use at Source is opportunities to get out and empowerment not to go back. Mm-hmm. How does that happen? What are some practical things or big picture?
You threw me off there. I do know it. It's very much again, those new choices that they need to make. And we come alongside, like what Jillian explained too, is that individual growth plan. Like, what does each person need for their situation? Because some of the women that come in our program, they have not gotten their GED. So we help them with getting plugged into those, getting into a GED program. Other people are ready to look for a job, but because of the gap in employment, are very nervous. How do I look for a new job? So we connect them with other resources to help them move forward in that. So it's very much empowering them in making those choices and being their cheerleader alongside with that. One of our residents, she was very nervous. She was supposed to go to this class, and one of the things that she needed to do was pass this math class. And she was very nervous about that, and she didn't want to go. She didn't want to go, and we're like, just try it. There's tutoring there, and she went for the tutoring, and halfway during her tutoring class, she got on the phone, and she called me. She said, Maria, I don't know what happened, but I understand it now. Thank you so much for pushing me. So it's those kind of encouragement to cheer them on when they don't believe in themselves.
We have a little bit of time. We'd love to be able to open it up to questions that you might have for Maria. No curveballs. I was just joking about that before. But what questions do you have for her about what she does as the director of this program, or maybe just whatever's on your heart or mind? Do you have some questions?
It's hard to see people. See.
Got one?
Are you licensed for a certain age group?
Yeah, we only work with people 18 and above. We're not licensed for under 18. Yes. So the question is, what happens after they move out of the annex? When the women move out, a big factor for them for when they move out is when they find permanent housing. We find it's very hard for them to find permanent housing just because of things that are on their records and all that. So when they do find permanent housing and move out, we do offer continual case management, and we have one of our residents who's graduated. She is now coming alongside, and she is an advocate mentor to the women in our program, and she can say, I know where you've been, I've been there as well, and together we're doing a Bible study with the women, and it's a Bible study I really like, because it's written by a survivor who has come out of the life and who has found Christ, and she can speak into areas where I cannot speak into, but she's really good. This Bible study is really good too in breaking down how people have gone into the life and the different layers of healing they need to receive. And that's for me a big point too, why I believe in the annex is the connection with the church and the hope that we have in Christ, because that is what's needed. We have that hope. Yeah. Roadmap to Redemption by Rebecca Bender. Yeah.
Whoever was speaking was saying that you all have resources that you connect others to and kind of outsource. What are the things that you are partnering with others to do versus what you all offer internally as far as helping women?
Yeah, yeah. Like, for example, the GED, job training through Goodwill, Easter, those things are things we outsource. The things, I think a big component that we do within our ministry is the residential volunteer part, where we have the young women living alongside the residents and helping out in the very practical things of life, giving rights, but also celebrating birthdays together, because birthdays and holidays are very hard for the women to be away from family, if it was good or bad, but to be away from the things that they've known and to celebrate new milestones. Those things, art, we have people come in and do art, those are things we do. Bible study, devotionals, those are things that the residential volunteers come alongside. Volunteering within SOARS as well, helping out at the food shelf, those are things that we do within SOARS ourselves. Does that explain?
Yeah, and one of the things that they outsource as well is counseling as
Yeah.
well. I mean, they can only do so much, but then you have people who are licensed to do that well, and so if you have connections there, of course, more connections are always helpful. We have time for probably one more question if anybody has one.
It's really hard to see.
Maybe we should bring John back up here. There's like 20 questions.
Yes,
then.
I see.
One more back there.
Actually, it's the tag on, because you also provide case management.
Yes. Yes. I've been doing case management with the women up till now, and just this last week we've hired a new case manager, and that's been a big step forward on many levels. But this is a lady that we've just hired, and she's going to be meeting with the women twice a week. And with our vision to see more homes open up, connected with other churches, is too that we as the annex come alongside and offer case management. So to bring in the program, to do the heavy lifting for the churches, and to bring the things that we've developed with the residential volunteers, and just the whole program, yeah.
Great, thank you. So we know that Maria is on staff. We know Jillian is on staff. Hope, are you in the back there? Hope is another person back there. She's waving her hand. These are the three women you want to connect with if you want to learn more about what Source is doing. And I want to just give you guys all a couple opportunities coming up here. First of all, if you're a part of this church and you want to be more connected, at least informed, make sure you join the Source City group. The city is how we communicate a lot. If you want to be on the mailing list, the staff for Source can help you out. Tonight we are showing Nefarious. We're going to show it, and we're also going to talk about it afterwards. We have some questions prepared, and if you haven't seen it yet, it's a difficult movie to watch, but it's good to watch as well. And then also, I want to let everybody know about this Art Music Justice here, put on by IJM, that's coming up in the middle of May. You can go to artmusicjusticetour.com. On the 15th, they have Sunday morning, there's a bunch of churches that are hosting IJM staff to speak at their churches, and then in the evening, they're having a concert. And then the next morning, Monday morning, there's going to be a networking meeting, and a handful of us from Hope are going to be attending that, because I really think that we need to network more, because people are doing things on their own, but if we come together, especially as the church, I really think that we can do this quite a bit better. Jillian, if you want to come up, and you can stay though. You don't have to leave if you don't want to. It's up to you. Up to you. Okay. So Jillian's going to come up, and she's already shared some of the things that can be done to help out a little bit here. Can you jump back one there? Sorry. I don't know how to use technology. There's one button to push on here, and I can't do that one thing. But Jillian's going to share a few things here. So you can see on this slide, on the left side, there's some ways to give. And if I can get the people to start making their way from the back. They have some commitment cards. You can fill that card out. You can text to 71777. You can give by credit card, and then you can also volunteer. You've heard them talk about residential volunteer, the different teams that they have. And a real simple way that I've set up things is to make a meal for the residents. Guys, you can make a meal, believe it or not. If you don't feel like you can, find someone who can make a meal and make it with them. That's a great way to bless the residents. But Jillian, go ahead and share some more details.
Yeah, so everyone is getting a packet, and in that, you're going to have a couple different things. So the first one is this third size piece of paper. It says Annex Network on top of it. And on one side, it kind of goes through our, what we do with anti-trafficking. And then the other side is all about ways you can get involved. And so we have different teams that people can come and be part of to support the entire nonprofit. And a lot of people come to us and say, oh, I'm so passionate about anti-trafficking. Can I volunteer with the women? And we are like, okay, hold on one second. We don't know you. We really care about the women in our program, and so we might act like protective mothers at times. We're not trying to be mean or anything, but we need people who are committed with specifically working with the women in our program. So that's why we have all these other teams for people to join who want to commit to those and really support the entire organization. So we have a research team. If you like researching, you might have noticed there's a lot of statistics, and thankfully we have some that are very legitimate, but there's also a lot out there that are not so much. And so we're constantly doing research to figure out what is going on in the sex trafficking, with sex trafficking here in Minnesota, in the United States. We also need people to research things for the women and where they can go get their GED, or what do you do with a woman who has a criminal record? How does she get a job? Things like that. We have an outreach team, like I talked about, if you are interested in that. The house support team is for people who are the residential volunteers, but then there's this larger part of it for women who want to come and support the house by giving rides and doing things with the women. We have a fundraising team, which would be helping with the different events that we do and networking with different businesses and things like that. And then an awareness and networking team, and that is for people who want to help with things like this or connecting with different churches. Like Rob was saying, networking is huge. I'm all about networking because we need to really combine forces with what people are doing here in the cities. And so that's one team. So all of those we have an application process for that you can find online, and definitely ask us questions if you have those. We do 2 monthly events. The first is a prayer breakfast, and that is for anyone who wants to come and pray with us. When I moved into the annex, I never experienced as much spiritual warfare ever in my life before. And once you get involved, like the enemy, even yesterday, Rob was talking about all this anxiety he was having in deja vu because
I'm a high needs person too.
and just once you get involved, like the enemy really wants to attack you because he doesn't want redemption to happen and healing to happen. And so that's why we do these prayer breakfasts. And then the training and testimony nights, like I talked about, are once a month. And then on the bottom there, we have a list of events. And a golf tournament, obviously, if you're a golfer, you can come to that. Or if you know anyone who is. The one I really want to highlight is the Bacon and Blossoms breakfast. So if you are here thinking, oh, I might have a friend who wants to learn about this, invite them to the Bacon and Blossoms breakfast, because we're going to really share just more about what we're doing specifically with our program, and we're going to have some stories just to give people a good picture of what does it look like for a woman to be exploited, but more so, what does it look like for her to get out, and how can people come alongside? How can people be like the coach that Trina was, and how do people really love and support these men and women? And then we have a 5K called the Run for Hope, and that's something I would love to see over 200 people at. And so that's going to take a lot of you to invite your friends. And you can sign up for that at sourcerunforhope.org. And there's an opportunity to create a team if you want to have fun with it and get your friends involved. And then lastly, I don't have a picture, but we do a thing called Walk in Her Shoes. We did this last year. Rob can attest to this. We had men.
High heels are not comfortable.
We had men walking in high heels, and it's an awareness event for men to really stand up and say they're not okay with this, and they have signs with statistics. And we had a woman from our program who was at that event, and she was really shocked to see men saying this is not okay. And so it's a fun event. I think it's fun, maybe because I'm not the one walking in the heels.
She means hilarious.
Yeah. We had Peter, who's our director, and Grant Snyder, and a lot of different people walking in high heels. So it's pretty fun. So that's going to be in September. So those are all ways you can get involved. Next, you have an envelope with a commitment card. And this is for people, you can check off the different things that you might be interested in. If there's a specific team you're interested in, you can just circle it right there, or any of those things. And then it also gives you the opportunity to put your credit card information. So we are a nonprofit. We need funding to run this program, and the funding is going to people like our new caseworker so that she can really work with the women and support them, and it's going to the housing so that these women have a roof over their head. And so we are looking to really fill in the second half of our annual budget for this year, and you can give either by filling out this commitment card and your credit card information. You can also text SOURCE to 71777, which is up on the screen there. And that will then just send you a link to put in your credit card information right there. It's really easy. We're really looking for people who want to partner with us on a monthly basis. And whether that's $5 a month or $20 a month, we would love to have you join us.
Or $500 a month.
Or $500 a month. Yeah, you can type that in. As many zeros as you want to add, we'll take. And so it's pretty easy to do it right on your phone there. You can also write out a check to SOURCE if you still use checkbooks, which I don't, but maybe some of you do. So those are all different ways that you can give. And then at the end, there's going to be people at both of the doors and over here as well with baskets, and you can put your card and envelope right in that basket. And we'll be sticking around, so feel free to come up and ask us questions. If you need a card reader, if you don't want to type it in your phone, Hope has a card reader, if that's easier for you. So again, we just want to thank you for coming, and we really look forward to having you be part of what we're doing, because we're excited to see this grow, and we're excited to see more people getting involved, because we can't do this alone. So that's all I have.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say is that SOURCE is very much a Christian organization in the sense that they can't get government grants. And some organizations do that, and I applaud them because they're able to do different things, but I also applaud SOURCE for saying that what we need to do is be very clear that the gospel is the answer. And so the donations to continue these things to go on, to have a director, a case manager, to provide this home for these women comes from churches and individuals. And so please keep that in mind as you consider whether or not you'd like to give financially to them. But I just want to say thank you again to everybody. Hey, you took a day off when it's beautiful weather outside. It's on a Saturday. I really do hope that you learned some things here today, and we've provided you all with more opportunities to take action. So thanks again, and have a good rest of the day.